Agud Voch Raboisai. Lili Nishma Simi Mirosu Mordechai. We're running a little late. Instead of emails, we're going to just introduce our guest, our chashuv guest. Who do we have? Shalom Aleichem. What's your name? Baruch Jofi? Jofi. From?
Local, but originally from South Africa.
Ooh, it's always good. So it shouldn't be a visit. It should be... that's it.
15 years
no, here in the shiur. Shalom Aleichem. What's your name? Chaim Newman from?
Moved from Toronto 2 weeks ago.
Ooh, no, Psanigin. Vishavu banim, vishavu banim ligvula, vishavu banim, vishavu. Oy oy, vishavu banim, vishavu banim, vishavu. It's a big zechus to come now during a war. It's bigger zechus than usual. Beautiful. Where do you live again?
Right now, I'm shopping in Zechron Yaakov.
Shopping in Zechron Yaakov. Very nice. All right. Yeah, there's a few apartments available on this block. Not really. If you decide. Alan Gross Rabboisai. He flew into Eretz Yisrael. Before he went to Shachris, he came straight to the shiur. And now, as he's leaving on his way out, he came to shiur. It's unbelievable. So, safe trip back. Hopefully you come back soon and stay. Who else do we have? Good Voch. What's your name, Tzaddik?
My father sends her guys back from Pomona.
Really? He's still doing the daf? Okay, Givaldik. What else? You're not new. Who else? That's it? I can't. Oh, Shalom Aleichem. Jim Levine, Boca Raton. Toronto, Boca Raton, and South Africa. Who? Who's he? Mordechai who?
Saxon. Rabbi Saxon.
Oh, this guy. Wow, beautiful. Okay, good Voch. Rabbi said, because we have over here, we have obviously Shavsi Cohen's here, Motzi Shabbos. So I'm going to read his email, V'zehu. During the last few days, we see the fresh motivation of the MDY status campaign. Starting Bava Kama Value 3 means that in less than 4 weeks, we're starting Bava Metzia. That means that in 5 months from now, we'll be done with Bava Metzia, already in Bava Basra. This is a great time to spread the word of our successful status clips with over 700 people receiving short clips from the shiur. To make it easier to join the group, Yosef prepared a short URL, statusclips.8mindaf.com. Statusclips, clips with an S, .8mindaf.com. And what you take those clips and you just put them on your status. Status clips. Kishmoy Keinhu. Beautiful. Yishkoyach. Rabbi Sai. We're holding Daf Pei. Oh, that's also something we do once in a while. The Koilel, sponsored by Anonymous from Lakewood for Refuah Tinoik Ben Malka. For the unity of Am Yisrael, the Masechta, entire Masechta, close to $10,000. For the unity of Am Yisrael, you have unity. Come here to the shiur, you see unity. And finally, because we do the Hebrew shiur, we finally have a Yerushalmi. We didn't have a Yerushalmi because they don't speak English usually. Now we have a Yerushalmi. Ahron Fraiman. We have 2 actually, every night. It should be a zechus to Reb Eli for continuing siyadta dishmaya and teaching Torah to Klal Yisroel. You'll see towards the end of shiur, people start coming in. Don't get nervous. That's the next shiur. It's supposed to start at 9:30. That's why we're in a little bit of a rush now. Parnas HaChodesh, Lilishmas Kol Chayalei Tzahal Shenaflu Al קידוש Hashem. The neshama should have an aliyah. Parnas HaChodesh, in memory of Binyomin Airley from Anonymous in Manchester, who joined the shiur. Talking about Manchester, are they on?
Yes.
They're doing a thing tonight also?
Yeah. Every month of Shabbos.
Every month of Shabbos. That's it. We don't have to. Is it growing?
No.
You sound like Kos. Oh, here's Kos. Here he is. Wow. Did it change your life yet? No. Never. I want to speak to your wife. You're like that bacher, like that younger man. I told you the story. At the Shabbaton, where is she? I hear the truth from the women. I don't need to listen to you. I know it's shtusim. Shprintzy and Avrumie Gross. Eli Stefansky, the yahrzeits our father. Shalom Rand, Yצחק, Aiyzik, Binyomin Airley, Aiyzik, הכהן, Sotah. Parnas HaChodesh, Eli Stefansky, Chai ben Moishe, Eli Stefansky, Chai bas Yosef. Panasayoim, Shalom Rand. My great grandmother's yahrzeits, Leah Bas R Eli, Yizayim B'Shvat. Boys, talking about Shalom Rand. I don't know if anybody's on his status. Have you been on his status? He's gone for 30 days. That's it. Boom. Yeah.
We thought he just unfriended.
No. The art of the month. I'm letting Dailam know. Don't call him up. Don't ask him what's going on. He's off. But this is the second sponsorship he did this week. It's better for us, I guess, when he's off status. The art of the month. Anonymous for zechus for an easy childbirth for his daughter and a healthy baby. Rav Isai, here we go. Boy Rabba. We're holding 4 lines from the bottom. Pehei Amud Beis. Boy Rabba. Sheves hapichatoi bedomim mau. Guy, let's say, breaks somebody else's arm, and by doing so, the guy can't work, right? Without an arm, he can't really work. But it's going to heal. Doctor says it takes a month or 2. Don't worry about it. You'll come out of your cast. You'll be fine. So, to pay him for his loss of salary, his unemployment, of course you have to pay. But the question is, what about the nezek? What about the damage? Because the damage that we always discuss is a permanent damage. This is a temporary damage. Do you pay temporary damages or not? Says Gemara, what's the case? He hit him on his hand and his arm. It shriveled. I don't know if anybody had the tremendous chus like I had when I was 19 years old. I had surgery on my knee. I had ACL surgery from playing basketball, and after surgery, it wasn't long, but maybe a couple of weeks after surgery, I went back to the doctor, and the doctor said, "Let me see if you could do this, like lift your arms." So I thought he's crazy, my leg, and I tried to lift my leg, and it didn't move. And I went on with sugar, and then he explained to me about this thing called atrophy, and if you don't use your leg or any muscle for a little while, it just dies out basically. And you have to relearn how to use it and relearn how to walk, the whole thing. So guy hit his arm to a point where it shriveled up. It's some siyadta. Don't worry about it. You go to some therapy, you do some exercise. It'll come back. You have to pay for that damage. Since it's going to come back, you don't get a dime for that. But today, if I view this person today, he's an invalid. He can't use his arms. So you have to pay for it maybe. Tashma. I can prove it to you. A person strikes his parents. He didn't cause any blood to come out. There's no wound. It's just he hit them. And this is something that you're chayiv misa. So we have to understand how you're chayiv misa by hitting your parent and not seeing any blood. So in this case, you wouldn't be chayiv, right? Sorry, not chayiv misa b'dei adam, because there's no chabura. If there was a chabura, you'd be chayiv misa. Somebody hurts his friend on Yom Kippur, even with blood, no misa b'dei bezdin. Why? Because chilul Yom Kippur is not like Chil Shabbos. You only chayiv kares. So the halacha is chayiv b'kula. Therefore, you chayiv on nezek, tsar, ripu, sheves, boishes, all 5 things that you're chayiv when you cause damage, because there's no kimle b'derabinei. If you're not losing your life, you have to pay the other stuff. So the Gemara goes into this. What exactly happened when a person strikes his father, let's say, and doesn't cause any blood damage? We're talking about a case, probably he broke his arm or something, but it's going to come back. And you see mafurish and nezek. So one of the 5 things, one of the 5 things is nezek. Our question was, if it's going to come back, do you have to pay for damage? The answer is yes. Amri. No, it's not talking about breaking an arm, causing damage to the arm. It's talking about where he made him deaf. And causing somebody to lose his hearing doesn't cause any blood. Says Gemara, it's not true. If you cause deafness to a father, you're liable to capital punishment, death penalty. Why? You did cause your father to bleed. There must have been some drop of blood that caused a puncture in the, I don't know, in the eardrum, I don't know what exactly, and that blood is what caused the deafness, and for that blood, you're chayiv misa. So we can't be talking about chayrish zav. We're talking about a case where there's no chabur, there's no blood. Oh, this is really interesting. The son, the reason why he's chayiv misa is because he shaved his father's head. So why is he chayiv misa? What kind of, even the hair is going to come back. But that's exactly the question. They had a trick back then. Maybe they have it today. They just took it off the market because it's really painful. It's a one-time thing. You put on some sort of chemical, you never have any hair growth on that spot. No laser treatments. Even laser, you have to go back 4 or 5 times, right? I haven't done it yet. You gotta try it out. It's geschmack. You never have to shave again. Lime? It's a one-time thing? No. I almost had a one-time thing. I told you already, by my brother's bar mitzvah. My brother, I don't know all these. He's already 47 probably. So I wanted to get a nice close shave with the cream. So I put it on. It almost took off my whole face. I left it on for a little bit too long, and then I scraped it off, and it came off with like a whole bunch of layers of skin or something, because everything was red like a tomato from here down. It's crazy. Last time I ever used it. That's the stuff basically, but the stronger stuff. The loyhadar. He put the stuff on his father's head, and his hair is never going to grow back. So, says the Gemara, I'll tell you why. Tsar disle kartufne bereishi. Here. To understand what kartufne bereishi, first of all, you're not going to understand this picture right away. We have to see the rest of the Gemara. But just to understand kartufne bereishi, it's those red lines on his head. He has a bunch of like grooves in his head. Very painful. Imagine you have a wound and you go to the Dead Sea, you go to Yam HaMelech. It's very, very painful. Imagine worse than the Dead Sea. Put this chemical that's so strong that your hair never grows back into these wounds. Very, very painful. And this father is screaming, so he has to pay him for the tsar. Ripuy, what's the medical bill here? The boyasuye, you gotta heal him. Sheves, what's the unemployment? What does this have to do with losing a job? He was dancing, says Rashi, in front of the stores. Certain stores, maybe bars, stores, whatever it is, he was dancing in front of it. This is what he was doing. Just as a shocker, I don't know, you might want to... This shocked the oilam on Friday. This is a guy who dances for a living in front of stores, and he has like grooves in his head, and you have to move your head. The point Rashi says is that the head movement is what causes people to laugh, and he can't do it anymore because it really hurts him and he's embarrassed by it, etc. Here you go. You jump. Okay, that's it. So that type of guy. What? It's disturbing? It is. He's a Bria Meshunamite. Yeah. Okay. So the boy, you know, when I show these kind of videos, you know there's nothing else coming up. Says the Gemara like this. The boy machvik gavna aresha. He has to move his head, the Gemara says, not Rashi. The Gemara says he has to move his head to cause humor. And he can't do it because he has these grooves in his head, and these grooves are full of this chemical that destroyed him, and that's it. A guy was here in the summer, a guy was like wearing one of these ski caps. Like, what happened? You went to the wrong barber? He's like, So you know, like it's a busha. It's a busha to go around with the bald head and a bunch of red grooves in there. Boishes. Why do you have to pay for busha? It's tremendous busha what happened there. Yeah? Imagine you, a person that's not bald, somebody went ahead and gave him a 0-0 bald. It's embarrassing to go out like that. So for that you have to pay. This question that we started off today's shiur, Rabbi asked, if somebody causes a temporary damage, do you have to pay for temporary damage or it's only permanent damage? This question, Abaya was simple to me, never had the question. And Rava had the question, had the answer, exact opposite answer though. The itmar, because we learned if somebody damaged someone else's hand, but it's going to come back, it's going to heal. This is just to confuse the olam, but all sheves gdoila means nezek, damage. The damage is that he's not working now for sheves gdoila. The sheves ktana means sheves. So if you just want to put with your pencil, sheves gdoila equals nezek, sheves ktana equals sheves. So Abaye says he has to pay for both, and that answers the question. The question was, do you pay for that? We said it initially. There's no question you have to pay for unemployment, that sheves ktana that you have to pay. There was no question. The question was, do you have to pay nezek? The answer is, according to Abaye, yes, you pay nezek. That sheves gdoila is nezek. Okay, here's an agreement. You pay for sheves, but you don't pay for nezek. So machlokes Abaye and Rava. Itmar. If somebody chops off the Jewish slave's arm, in those days, if you stole, you couldn't pay, you sold yourself for 6 years, Eved Ivri for 6 years. You go and you damage the slave. Now, what did you really do? You damaged the slave, but you also damaged the master. He bought a slave, he paid $100,000 for the slave, he's worthless now. Abaya Amar noisemli sheves gdoila le'eved v'sheves tana l'rav. Says Abaya, you pay for the damage to the slave. Makes sense. He lost his arm. Poor guy. He's Jewish. He gets he's not an Eved Knani. He's an Eved Ivri. He's going to go home one day. He gets the nezek. B'sheves ktana, but the unemployment you give to the master. What's the sheves ktana? What's the unemployment? Shomer kishuim. Guys, remember the picture? Elliot told me his favorite picture of since he came to the shiur. Last year now. Favorite picture. Okay, the guy with the gun, I don't have it here, right? Does anybody, you saw it? You know what it looks like? What?
No.
You didn't. Probably Daf Pei Hey. Pei Hey, you pay $1, you can throw it in. You'll show it on the screen for our guest from Toronto. It's not the best picture. For him, it was the best picture. It's a guy that's missing his arm, and all he could do is watch a cucumber field. That's all he could do. So the question Taisus asks is, it seems not to be fair. A person purchased a Jewish slave for $100,000 because the Jewish slave is known as to be a great, here, that's the picture. Very nice. Okay. The Jewish slave smoking gun. This is after he took care of business, it seems like. The Jewish slave, he's good. He's a diamond cutter. He's a great tile guy. I don't know what. And now by this person chopping off the slave's arm, all the master gets now is minimum wage, which is shomer kishuim. It's not fair. He paid a lot of money, and all he's getting out of it is shomer kishuim. Says Taisvis, unfortunately, that's life. That sometimes a slave is going to have the flu and he won't be able to work. Sometimes something happens. So in this case, you're right. But be happy that you're getting the minimum wage, and the difference between the minimum wage and what you paid for, you're going to have to take the loss, says Taisus. Says Gemara, Rav Amar Hakol Yunosin Leved. Everything goes to the slave. And what do? You purchase real estate, and at least the master gets to eat the fruit, the income that comes from the field. Taisvis flips it around, that everything should go to the master, and you buy real estate, and the slave gets to eat. But the point is that the master is not going to lose over here. Says the Gemara, Pshita, this is simple. Let's say he caused serious damage to the slave, but it had no effect on the master. Hechidami, what's a good case? The paskil reish une or reish nechire. That he chopped off the slave's nose. Okay, so nothing happened to the master. The guy still could do whatever he was doing with his hands. Everything's great. He's not very good looking now, but nothing happened to the master. The slave, on the other hand, lost his nose. It's a big problem. So that, for sure, you have to pay the actual slave. There was this guy that ruled Akko here in Israel, and his thing was, he's known that if you mess with him, chopped off your nose. And the Rav of Akko got on his nerves, and chopped off the Rav's nose. Meiser, Chaim Parchi was his name. Got his nose chopped off. So, Pichetz, it's a rabbi, but if you caused serious Shalom Aleichem, oh, now Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem. Then get up, all the way from Austria. Gee, come, get over here. Shalom Aleichem. Wow. Huh? We have some seats over here. We have a special seat just for you. Wow, what a guest. A guest. We have from Toronto, we have from Boca Raton, we have from South Africa, and from Austria. Shalom Aleichem. Tell us your name. What's your name? Avi Ungrov. He's the MDY of Austria. And Avi is writing Sefer Torah now, right?
Yes.
How far into the Sefer Torah are you?
Vayikra.
In Vayikra already. Psh, Givaldi. You want a drink here? Take some water. Wow. Shalom Aleichem. What's your name? It's over there. You related? Your father. Shalom Aleichem. All the way from Austria. And a brother. Such a young father. Blia and Hara. Wow. Very nice. Shkar for coming. It's mamish a pleasure. So we're holding in the middle of the sugya over here. I don't know where we're holding really. Anybody can help me out? So yeah, so we were talking about the guy chopped off his nose. Oh, so here we are. Piches it's still rabbi, but if the damage was caused to the master, meaning also to the master, you could stick it with your pencil. Also to the master. Look to the Abaye. So that's the machlokes that we had before with Abaye and Rava, whether you give the Shevis Gdoila and Shevis Ktana, or just Shevis Ktana to the master or not. Okay, says the Gemara. We had in the Mishnah that when it comes to busha, it depends on the person that's causing. Oh, you could have brought your little doll. Just give it to me. What, do you need it? He has a Rebbe Ovadia Yosef doll. It's known that Rebbe Ovadia Yosef, people would wait in line and basically wait their entire life to get a smack from him. That was the thing. Chapcha, it's called. You got a smack from Rebbe Ovadia Yosef was like a huge thing. Ask any Sephardi. You ask them, the first thing you say, did you ever get, Tomer, you ever got a smack from Rebbe Ovadia Yosef? You did? How many? Did it hurt? I gave one of those because you're Ashkenazi, really. Just joke. Sephardim get smacks, the Ashkenazim get the little, okay. Fine. So, depends. Who gave you the smack? If the loser of the town gave the smack, it's very embarrassing. If somebody really chashuv gave you smack, okay, fine. If the person receiving the smack, the king, gets a smack, it's terrible. It's a big busha. If, sometimes they like to smack up politicians or whatever, it's a big busha. So says the Gemara like this. First of all, we have to say the Chavetz Chaim. Chavetz Chaim says that if people would know how chashuv it is to get busha, how important, what it does to you, they would, what are you smiling about? You know what's coming up? Then they would look for busha. Reb Shloimeh Zvil used to look for busha. One time they said his daughter, famous Maisa, they said his daughter is really, really sick. So he ran around to look how to be embarrassed. And they said, oh, your daughter, she was healed. Then another time, your daughter is very sick. He went around, he couldn't find any busha. He says, oive, it's all over. It's not going to work. Today, what? Oh, that's right. The big Rabbi said, if you want busha, be a magachir for a day. And have Rav Nachman Seltzer sit next to you. Okay, don't worry. I'm sure you'll put him in upside down or whatever. It'll be fine. The bush is not Rav Nachman Seltzer. The bush is when you mess up and say the wrong pshat and whatever. And everybody says, did you see Rashi? In front of 20,000 people. That's a shtick of busha. Yeah. So today, forget this idea of going to look for busha. Today, we do everything easier. So since Reb Chaim Kanevsky said it, that's what you don't look for busha. You look for somebody else that had the busha. Then you go to that person and say, "Hey, could you give me a bracha?" That's the look for the busha. It's geschmack. Become a magachir. It's kedai. So says the Gemara, Mani Masnisin. Who does our Mishnah go like when it says that it depends on who gave the busha and who was the one that received the busha? It must be Reb Shimon. Why? Whether a person is wealthy or very poor, it doesn't matter, says Reb Meir. We take everybody and we put them into one category. There's only one category. Everybody lost their belongings. Shehain, because Shehain, they are Bnei Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Everybody is the same. We all come from the same parents. We're Bnei Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. The famous Satmar Rav, Rabbi Yoelish, was very sharp. He said, he saw a guy walking around with like Rebbeisha garb. He wasn't so happy about it. He says, what's your yichus? So the guy says, I'm a grandson of Avram Avinu. He says, oh, yeah, that I knew. That's Pashat. I just wasn't sure which wife you come from. So we're all from Bnei Avram Yitzchak Yaakov. Says Divrei Rebbe Meir. In Memela, doesn't matter how much money you have, it doesn't go by the wealth. What is this? Water? Shkoyach. Thank you. For the next year. So it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, we're all the same. No. And Rabbi Yehuda is the one that says it makes a difference. No, so if it makes a difference, our Mishnah should be like Rabbi Yehuda. No. I'm going to get there in a second. So Rabbi Shimon says yes. We take everybody down. The very wealthy go all the way down to poor, but the poor go even lower than that, to the poor of the poor. So he does have a scale, Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Yehuda has the better scale, but Rabbi Shimon has a scale. So says the Gemara, now the Gemara explains. It can't be Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Meir says everybody's in the same category, we're all the sons of Avram Avinu. And our Mishnah says it's a scale. Wait a minute, but now it does make sense to be Rabbi Yehuda, but the problem is that our Mishnah cannot go like Rabbi Yehuda. Why? Because in our Mishnah it says that if you embarrass the blind, you're chayiv. We're going to see today, tomorrow sugi as well. Rabbi Yehuda holds that a blind person we don't pay him busha. And he doesn't have mitzvahs. The whole Rabbi Yehuda is very, very extreme in that shita. So it can't go according to our Mishnah. Rabbi Shimon, so must be Rabbi Shimon. He also has somewhat of a scale. In other words, poor is the poor of the poor, and the rich, we treat him like the poor. I feel the time Rabbi Yehuda. No, it could go like Rabbi Yehuda. You can't receive from a blind person. A blind person embarrassed you, you don't get any money from him. But to give him, if you embarrass the blind, you have to pay the blind. Says Gemara, that can't be. It says, we're going to learn that if you embarrass the sleeping person, you're chayiv. V'yashin should be ishpater, but if the sleeper embarrass you, he fell off his bunk bed and hit you, and he embarrassed you, he is pater. But like Tani Suma should be ishpater. Haggadah doesn't say, and the Gemara says that same time also over there on Amud Beis. It doesn't say anything about the blind that were mevayish, they are pater. We hold that the blind are chayiv. Rabbi Yehuda holds the blind is pater. So that's why we said to begin with that our Mishnah has to be the shita of Rabbi Shimon. Says Gemara, who's the man that says this kamla is a katan ubish is a gadol? You thought that the person that you were embarrassing is 11 years old. It turns out that he's 15. Or maybe you try to embarrass Reuven or Shimon. That you have to at least give the older one, you give him the amount that you'd pay to a minor. You try to embarrass a slave and you ended up embarrassing a regular person. Pay at least the amount that you'd pay to the slave. It can't go according to any of the three shittas. Why? Because to begin with, we thought that we're talking about wealth. You try to embarrass a wealthy person, and you try to embarrass Elon Musk, and you embarrass the guy who has no money. Remeir says there's no difference between Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and the average guy that has no money. They're all the same category. But it certainly can't be Rabbi Yehuda, because here it talks about you try to embarrass a slave and you ended up embarrassing a regular person. You're chayiv the money of a slave. But Rabbi Yehuda says there is no busha, you don't pay to slaves. Rabbi Shimon holds, I'm going to see also, by killing, you shoot a guy and you ended up shooting another guy, you're potter according to Rabbi Shimon. Same thing with busha. You try to embarrass one person, you embarrass the other guy, according to Rabbi Shimon, you're potter. My time in Kektola is like killing. You have to have intent to kill that person, first degree murder, whatever it's called. You have to have kavanah to that person that you killed. There must be another einish or something like in the States. They can't put you away forever. I believe in American law. If you try to kill Reuven, you killed Shimon, I don't think they'll put you away forever. They'll put you away for a good few years, but not forever, right? It's not first degree. Whatever. Okay. Nida Avi Kamyansky, he would know probably. So when it comes to embarrassing somebody, you have to have kavanah for that person. She, the wife of an individual, she grabbed in an embarrassing place. Has to have kavanah. You have to have kavanah for that. Says Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda, you can take goes according to Rabbi Yehuda. This is that Rabbi Yehuda said that slaves don't have busha limitvalu to give to them. You don't have to pay them for embarrassment. But obviously they do have embarrassment, and you could assess the amount based on this slave. Slaves have less busha maybe than a regular person because they're slaves, but there's still a market for it. You could go according to Meir. We understood the sugi wrong. It's not about wealth. We're talking about an adult and a young child. Ask the Gemara, how could it be a child? You could embarrass a child. A child could run around in the street doing crazy things, all muddy. They jump into the mud. You're going to embarrass a child? How do you embarrass a child? You could. He's a child that if you remind him something, he's that age. Remember, you did this and this, and then he gets really embarrassed. We're talking about a child that he's of that age, that if you remind him of something, he does have busha. Amud Beis is sponsored by Greg Haber for the success and the safe return of our chaylim and hostages for the zechus of all of Klal Yisroel. We're not on a mission yet, are we? Yeah, okay, but hold on a second. I want to say the story because I think it's important. My chavrusa, my Rebbe Didier Kramer, he asked me if I could take his children to his daughter's vart. They were going. I was going anyway. It was his son's vart. I said, yeah. Now, he forgot to mention to his children that when I drive places, I don't drive. I'm from New York, so I drive like a New Yorker. And I'm flying up the thing, doing my thing. And the kids were not happy. And they asked me to slow down, so I went a little quicker. And when we got to Yerushalayim, we got to the place. I parked the car, and they all got out of the car besides his 8-year-old, 9-year-old. And instead of getting out, he decided to vomit all over my car. So I was not happy about it. I was like, why couldn't you just get out and do it? So I come inside the Vart, and I start schmoozing there, whatever. Fine. The next morning, I see in the beginning of shiur, I see Rabbi Kramer's father. So I was like, okay, this is Gishmak. He's come to shiur. I did speak to him about the shiur. Huh? And then he stays for Shachris. And after Shachris, he comes over and he says, listen, that story you said over by the Vart about my grandson? I said, yeah. He says, my grandson was sitting there and you mamish embarrassed him, and I think you have to ask him a chila. So he tells me. So I'm like, but he doesn't speak English. He didn't understand the word. No, he understood it. So okay, so I was in shock. I was like, so you came for an hour and a half away by bus. You stayed there for the whole shiur. You davened the whole shachris to tell me that? It's like, yeah. I think I don't want you're magachir. I don't want you to have this on your account. You have to have a clean slate. So I went to the kid. I know he likes candy, this kid, because he comes to my house all the time. He gives me messages from his father, and I give him candy. I said, this time I'm going to give you 10 candies. On condition they can repeat one word that I said by the Vart, by the table. You're sitting there, no? He says, yeah. I said, I don't know. I can't say anything. I said, Did I speak about your father? I don't know. Did I speak about you? No. So, Baruch Hashem, you're not getting any candy. And I don't have to ask you mechila.
Did you tell this story in the Hebrew show? Yeah.
My point is that Rabbi Kramer's father gave me a good lesson. And it is that you cannot embarrass a young child. Sometimes we're not so careful. I myself. And it's even, sometimes it's worse than embarrassing an adult. If a child understands, like the Gemara says, the child can understand, it's very hard to get for them to be moichel. They don't have the ability even to be moichel. So the others should take that. If I'm over, if the Magid is over, and at least you guys will be more careful with it. Okay, says the Mishnah, sponsored by Moshe Cohen. I don't have it here. Sponsored by Moshe Cohen. Zechus for tremendous aliyah and ruchnius and a lot of success in Gashmias. Says the Mishnah, a person who embarrasses a person that's not wearing clothing. Now, somebody that's not wearing clothing, he's in a state of embarrassment as is. So it's very hard to embarrass him. Person who embarrasses a blind person. Embarrassing a person who's asleep. Chayev. I showed these pictures to the Israelis. They didn't appreciate as much as I did. All I can tell you is that my wife thought I was crazy. I was laughing my head off to myself in my office. I was looking for a nice picture of Mavayish Yashin, somebody embarrassed. I was just laughing to myself. Maybe somebody here would appreciate it. That's okay. So, in yeshiva we used to do this all the time. Take the guy, put him in the middle of the street, put him on a raft, and throw him into the middle of the lake. Here's just another one I thought was givaldic. There's a lot of artistic ability here. Anyway, fine. So a Mavayish Yashin. You embarrass a sleeping person, you're chayev. You embarrassed him. What if the sleeping person never woke up from his sleep? Never woke up. He died in his sleep. He was alive when you did it, and he never made it through the night. You have to pay him or not? Huh? You should. Why? Pay his family. I hear. Nafal min agag v'hizik, but he's sleeping, doesn't know it's flying. Nafal min agag, a guy fell off the roof v'hizik and he caused damage. You have to know about this. There was a guy that was falling off the roof, fell off the roof in midair. He says, "Rebbeinu Shalom, if you save me, I'm going to start doing the daf. And I'm going to do chazara." And as he can't believe the story. As he's falling, a truck goes by and it's full of mattresses, and boom, he falls into the truck. He says, "Rebbeinu Shalom, I talk such stupidity when I'm under pressure." Fine. So we had already the sugi Rabbi saying this Masech. The guy fell off the roof. If you remember, I'll remind you. He did like a cartwheel. He moved his body mid-ear so that he could soften the blow so it doesn't land on the sidewalk. He saw a guy standing there schmoozing. He said, "Okay, this looks like a nice landing spot." And he maneuvered his body somehow. He made a move. So that's why he's chayev. You don't say, "Oh, he's a complete oinus, this, that." Ubiyesh, and he also embarrassed the guy. Chayev al nezek upatal aboishes. Josephon says, he says the guy was in Rome and the building was on fire, and he screams to his buddy. He says, "Listen, I have a lot of money. If you catch me, I'll give you half my money." So the guy says, "Fine." So the guy goes and he jumps and the guy walks away. No, that's not what happened. He says that the guy caught him and they both died. That's what he says. So he's chai in this case, they both survived. He's chai for the damage, but he's potter for busha. Why? Because busha is achiyem skav. You have to have kavana for busha. Tanarabana. Bisha yaru. He embarrassed him when he was naked, not dressed. Chayev. And obviously, it's not the same embarrassment because the person is not wearing clothing. He's in that situation of busha anyways. Bisha, imagine a guy in the street. He's mamish mevoyish, and you spit at him, whatever it is. Okay, so you pay, but you're not going to pay the full amount. If he embarrassed somebody in the Beis HaMerchatz, we have a little bit of a thing here. Here's a guy that's embarrassed in the Beis HaMerchatz. I'm not going to show you, obviously. We had a censor it a little bit. He's not wearing clothing. It's the saber sizing. Here we go. He's mevayishim in the bathhouse. Poor guy crying. Nebuch. Okay, so. And if he's in the marketplace, obviously it's much more embarrassing. As the Gemara, Aram bar Boishasu is a person who's walking in the street in public. Could you even embarrass him? How can you even embarrass him? Rabbi, I don't like to say the story because last time I said it, I got into a lot of trouble. I'll say it anyways. Why not? I'm in Chicago. Maisa Shoya. He never heard the story. He didn't even see the guy with it. I got to tell for him. I'm on my jet ski in Chicago. I love going on my jet ski back in the day when I had time, when I wasn't a Magachir. Take it out to the lake. I take it really, really far, and I look around. I don't see any boats. I don't see anything. I say, okay, this is a great time to go to the mikveh. I learned my lessons. I jump into the water. The water is nice and calm. You know what? I'm not going to do one of these. I'm going to take off my bathing suit. I look around. Nobody's there. I put my bathing suit on top of the jet ski. And I go in. And all of a sudden, a big giant wave comes and knocks my bathing suit off the jet ski, knocks my whole jet ski everywhere. And the pachad, okay, slow motion this. What was going through my mind is, how in the world am I going to drive my jet ski back to my car, load it up? And I'm going crazy. I'm losing it. And I'm like, you know what? You have some rope in the front trunk. Maybe you could do something. And it's no volume. Shem, please help. So anyways, I dive underneath my jet ski and it was under there and I was able to find it. But the pachad, the busha, there's people there, there's cars and everything. Like, what's this Jewish guy doing? Anyway, just thought I'd share that with you. How many emails are we going to get from this one? Wow. Once we're talking about these kind of things, I can tell you the Maisa, Levi, you had enough of this joke? This taxi guy looks behind and he sees the guy is completely naked. And he looks again. So the guy says, hey, what's your problem? Why do you keep looking here? You've never seen a naked guy in a taxi? So the guy says, I did. Of course I did. But I don't know how you're going to pay me. All right, the next. We got, hello, the Olam is coming. Amra Papa. Amra Papa Mayorum. You says the Gemara, what? So how do you embarrass the naked guy? He's already embarrassed. Imagine the guy taking out his jet ski. Mama, so you're gonna embarrass him, you're gonna spit on him. It's not gonna add a thing. Trust me. Amra Papa Mayorum. I just thought about another one, but we're gonna go weiter. Fine, I'll tell it to you. What do you do when the guy steals your clothes in the mikvah? What do? You take a towel, you put it on your head, and you run home. Fine. Are you coming back to shiur tomorrow?
It's a good first one to come in first.
Tomorrow's terrible. All right. Fine. What happened was, says Rav Papa, it's not that he was walking around naked in the street. In those days, they used to, if you want to see what they used to wear, they wouldn't wear like trousers and pants, whatever we call it. They used to wear something like this, like some sort of robe. So the wind came and blew it up. Vasahu wasn't like totally still proper. He came and lifted up even more. But to begin with, it was already embarrassing because it was already up, but he did the rest. Says the Gemara, if you embarrass him in the bathhouse, you're chayav. Is it possible to embarrass somebody? Everybody's not wearing clothing over there. It wasn't a regular bathhouse. It was on the riverbank, and there's a lot of people there, so people don't usually go without clothing over there. Bisho Yoshein Vomeis, a guy in my yeshiva, was arrested in Passaic because he went on Gavanar. He thought nobody's looking on the lake, and he went to the mikveh there like early in the morning, and the cops showed up and they took him away. The Rosh Yeshiva had to come take him out, I think. Here's the question: you embarrassed the guy while he was sleeping, and he never woke up. Says Gemara, what's the question? This is the question. Mishum kisufu. Is it because of embarrassment? And then he died. But less like Yusuf, he's dead. So he never had an embarrassment. Nobody ever told him what happened. So you don't pay. Is degradation. It's to make him low. So the chiv would be while the guy's still sleeping. That's nafkamin. When are you chayiv? When the guy's still sleeping, you embarrass him, and there's no embarrassment while you're sleeping. You only find out later, and later it's too late. He's already dead. Or maybe no, when you degrade a person, at that moment you're chayiv while he's still sleeping. So even though he died, you have to pay the yahrzeits. A deaf mute and a youngster have embarrassment. Shayta and boishes, but a deranged person doesn't have busha. Says Gemara, yeah, it's like where it gets wide now. If it's because he degraded, so I could see it with a minor. If it's talking about embarrassing katan bar boishesu, did you really embarrass a youngster? So what are you telling me? Because you degraded the person. I feel the shaytanami, you could degrade a shayta. Says Gemara, no. When it comes to a shayta, there is no busha. Being deranged and walking around the street deranged, that's the biggest busha. So you can't embarrass a shayta. Says Gemara, but yet you see that it's because of the degradation. It can't be. There's no embarrassing a youngster. Oh, this is what we said on Amud Aleph. This is, and we said, like Rav Papa says later, and this is where it is. Or not. It's a youngster that when you embarrass him, you tell him about something that happened, he gets embarrassed. So you could embarrass a youngster. This is the question. Very interesting. Do you pay for the busha of the family? Could you embarrass the family? By embarrassing this youngster right over here, I embarrass his father. Or too bad on the father. Why do you embarrass? You embarrass shiduchim, this, that, but do you pay for that? Says Gemara. Tashma, Cherish this is what we just brought, but here, let's try to bring it right. A deaf mute and a minor have busha. Shayta ain't la boishes. But a deranged person doesn't have busha. Yeah, if it's because this is called a macha, they're getting up and leaving because of the jokes that we had. I can understand why a minor is embarrassed. It's not him himself, it's his father, his mother. So for that you're paying. Could you embarrass a minor? So what are you telling me? That's because of the embarrassment of the family? I feel the shaytanami. You could embarrass a shayta. It's very embarrassing. And I said this over. I was in Matisdorf, and there was, when I was a kid, and there was the town's fool, or whatever you want to call him, and kids would throw fruit at him. And I'm thinking to myself now, I was like, imagine the parents seeing this. The busha, the unbelievable thing. And okay, we're not going to get into it, that the other parents didn't do anything about it. But you could be embarrassed by a shayta. Not true, says the Gemara. The fact that he himself is a shayta, that is the busha, and adding to that doesn't add anything. Says the Gemara, but you can prove that it is the embarrassment of the family. Because if it's just embarrassing, Katan bar kisufa, Katan doesn't have any embarrassment. Amar Papa, not Kidda Amar Papa over here, finally. This is the Rav Papa that we said twice already, and here's the source. Amar Papa, you could embarrass a minor. That if you embarrass him, he will be embarrassed. He's that age that if you remind him, says Rashi, he'll become embarrassed. But Tanya, I'll prove it to you. A deaf mute, you could embarrass, but a deranged person you cannot embarrass. In the time of the Gemara, a deaf mute was literally somebody that's illiterate and like a deranged person. They had nothing. They couldn't communicate. They couldn't understand anything. They're deaf mute. Today it's a little different. But a minor, sometimes you can embarrass, sometimes not. How? That's where Papa's vard, that he's of that age that you can embarrass him. If you embarrass the blind. So the Gemara Masisin like Rabbi Yehuda. Our mission is not like Rabbi Yehuda. Why? So Rashi says it's a diuk. Because our mission says that if you're sleeping, a sleeping person who embarrasses somebody else, let's say he falls off his bed and hits somebody, embarrasses that person, he's potter. Smashma that if the same thing happened with a blind person, he'd be chayiv. Otherwise, the mission should have said it. The Sanya Rabbi Yehuda Omer, So our Mishnah can't go like Rabbi Yehuda. Why? The time Rabbi Yehuda Omer Suma Ein Le Boishes. And that's today's. We're going to finish off like that, and that's tomorrow's sugya until the Mishnah. That Rabbi Yehuda at the end of the day he builds. Right now we're just going to see one part. That he's going to say that a blind person doesn't go to Gullus, but at the end of the day we're going to see a blind person is potter from all mitzvahs. He might be chayiv in loisa says according to Taisus and Son of Rishayim, but Rabbi Yehuda holds he's potter from everything. So Masizin like Rabbi Yehuda. Why? The sign Rabbi Yehuda Omer Suma in leBoishas. He has no busha. V'kachai Rabbi Yehuda poiter. He would say that a blind person is potter from chayav galiois and chayav malkuyois and chayav mises bezin. That if a blind person kills somebody by mistake or on purpose, or he does some aveira, he doesn't get malchus, he doesn't go to gullus, he doesn't get the death penalty. My time to review the why. Here, because we have some new people, I'll show you Eidim Zayim real quickly. Eidim Zayim are, we have witnesses that say, we saw that you did X, Y, Z, and then we have two other Eidim that come and say, Imanu Yisem, check this out, you're going to like this. You were with us. What does that mean, you were with us? How could you say that you were there and you witnessed the death of the person? You were with us. You were with us on a cruise ship in a different country. You weren't even there. You're liars. And the halacha is that whatever they wanted to do to that person, we do to them. If they want to kill that person, you kill them. If they wanted to cause them monetary damage, they pay that monetary damage. However, the halacha is, ma hasam sumim lai. This does not apply to blind people. If a person is blind, you cannot make him a zaymem. So too, blind people are not in the parsha of Galus. From what are we saying here? No, Chayv Galus is coming up. No. Masis like review the sign review the Omer Suma Ein Le Boishes. Can we report me Chayv Galus? Chayv Malchus. Chayv Mrs. Bezim. My time to review the Gomer Nechei Necham Eidim Zoim. Ma Hasam Sum Loi. So what is this for? Which one of it is? What are we trying to prove here? Boishes. Okay, I'll take it. Boishes. There's no busha. Now the next one is no. Excuse me. No mouth. No golos. Where are we? Mechavi golos. The sign. Belay rois. Prat l'suma. Dir Rabbi Yehuda. The word belay rois means that they don't go to golos. And Rabbi says the opposite. It comes to say that a blind person goes to golos. My time to Rabbi Yehuda. Here we have a little bit of a thing here. Where is that? Here. Is that this is? Yeah. Vafilu suma, here we go. He's chopping away at the wood. We have 8 minutes. We're good. Vafilu suma, because of Rahman Belay Rois. Lemute. So it means that anybody that comes into the forest to chop wood and by mistake killed somebody. Oh, there's no sound. That's the whole thing. Yeah. Ow. He can do it. I'll just continue. Just ignore me. Because Rahman believe das. Belay Rois lemute. Remei kosav Rahman Belay Rois lemute. Okay. He's a pro. No, the opposite. Belay Rois comes to exclude a summa because Rahman b'ivli das lemute, and there's another exclusion b'ivli das. So we have two exclusions. Have a muyut achemiyut. Anytime you have two negatives equals ve'miyut achemiyut eler rabbis. Two negatives equal positive. Rebudu ha'u b'ivli das. Prat l'miskaven hu da'asa. That if person has kavanah to kill, he's parted from galus, he doesn't go to galus. Now, chayiv misas bezin. What about somebody that's chayiv misa? Let's say he's michal Shabbos on purpose with asra and everything, edim on Shabbos. He's blind. That you learn from Xer Shavar. Just like you're not chayiv in galus, he's not chayiv on misas bezin. Chayiv malkuyos. Also Rasha. Mechayve, Misois, Bezdin, Rabboisai, have a wonderful week, a wonderful evening. We'll see you tomorrow, Be'ez Hashem, 7:15 for the Israelis in Hebrew. Teisha, and now. Agud Voch.